within a few days it came out in the Ottumwa Courier that they had passed it. And of course we didn't realize what was going to go on. So they started to build a compost. Now yours is a manure compost.
It is manure compost, and he enlightened the group that was invited up there the other day. He also intends to add rotten milk to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me get some notes.
So
on
it's protein out of those, not rotten milk. That is not what he said.
He said spoiled milk.
Spoiled milk.
The solids from it.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
gonna smell. And it's gonna attract flies.
Well, the solid would be
Okay,
spoiled.
just,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes it solid.
Yeah.
Okay, so when he started the business, I'm going to put up, I don't know whether he's explained this to you, but you're going to have lagoons at the plant. They both brought in leftovers. Hy-Vee out of West Des Moines was the largest vendor. They brought in rotten food. Produce that rotted in the produce. And also, and you told me her husband, Susan, stand up a minute. Susan's husband, Jerry, had been a manager there for a little while. They also brought in expired pizzas and different things like this with the wrapping on it. And we're not supposed to take wrapping. We're not supposed to take those Hy-Vee bags because they are not biodegradable. But they still came in. And you're going to see on pictures pretty soon that it is the year 2024, and those bags are in our fences, they're in our trees, we farm, they're on our fields, they get into our hay, and they are still in some of the piles of crap. It's not compost anymore, it's just crap.
Shit.
Yes.
It's supposed to go through a screener to screen
Supposed to
all
go
that
through a
stuff out.
screener to take it out. But eventually Gary got lazy and he let all the equipment break down and sit. And I'm going to show you some really bad pictures here pretty soon. In the first few years, he was doing pretty good. It stunk like rotten eggs. My daughter worked over there for a couple years when she was going to Indian Hills as a second job. And when you have windrows, of course they're going to heat up. After you grind the different products that come into the compost, there's recipes that they have. Some for landowners, some to go on agricultural land, some to go on people's lawns, some to go into potting soil. There's different recipes that they create. And so they're going to put these in windrows. And these windrows are going to heat up, aren't they? They're going to get to a certain temperature. She would go out there and she would probe those windrows and take the temperature. That temperature would tell them if that needed to be stacked or turned over. And you're going to have to put a wood product in there. Usually the pallets would come in and they would grind the pallets up into it because you need that oxygen to feed that compost. Okay, then she would take a probe and she would probe into the same windrow to get the moisture content. And that way they have to know how long it's going to take to cure that. That's correct, isn't it?
I didn't know the process of it.
Well, I don't know every
Yes, that's correct.
I don't know every detail about composting, but I know enough to explain the situation. Okay, we had rotten dog food that came in from Nestle's Purina Pet, and it stinks. It drew in, well, in fact, I'm going to tell you right now, your food, your dog food, and some other things that they brought in will draw your coyotes, your raccoons, your possums,
Skunks.
your rats.
Yeah.
It's going to bring in all the varmints, and not only will it stay at the compost, but they're going to find their way to your house too. We had a bad bird problem, real bad bird problem. I couldn't go southeast of me. So Cargill is a plant that produces fructose. So it's a corn producing, it's a food product that is used as a sweetener in food. So Cargill has to keep the bird population down. Gary was drawing in a lot of these birds, but refused to do anything about the birds. So Cargill ended up, through the USDA, setting up bird traps or bird poison. So now you're poisoning the birds. And that's how we had the birds under control. We raised hogs for many years, feeder pigs. We sold feeder pigs. We had a confinement there. We did all the gestation and we sold them. And then now we had cattle, and now we have a lot of cattle. And not only I live on the northwest side of Compost, and my husband, he's deceased now, but there's a Century Farm that lays just southeast of the Compost. There's a creek that runs through my farm and also through Shamness that connects, that runs into the Des Moines River downstream. We had a lot of pollution. These lagoons, sometimes when it rains a lot and they cannot get that water out of there to land apply on land around there, it's going to run over. You have to have 24 inches of freeboard from the top of the ground to the water level in these lagoons. They had 2 lagoons until 2008, and they realized that that was not enough. The lagoons were constantly running over and into our creek. We had a lot of pollution in the water. We had cattle on the Century Farm, and in the year of 2012, we had cows throwing their calves. And there was the pollution in the creek. And we had to fence off the creek because our cows, they still don't drink out of that creek. Then they were bringing in a product from these egg processing corporations in the state of Iowa, which was a biodiesel leftover product that would come in on trucks. They would mix this in with the compost. Don't ask me why, but Gary was probably getting paid a good price. In the year of 2019, they were starting to move this crap, it wasn't compost, off of the pad onto the ground. And then I became concerned. I knew the law said they had to keep it on the pad. And we also started to have fires. They were not putting the fires out. When the windrows catch fire, they either have to water them, and then what I want to ask you is, who is going to be there after hours? Who is going to be there on the weekends? Who is going to be there on holidays that is going to put those fires out for you? Is there going to be someone on call? And another thing, this gentleman that is trying to push this compost next door to you is not going to live around here. Is he going to be able to be contacted? Or are you going to have to go through a string of managers like we did and a string of employees that you don't even know who is in charge over there? That's another question I want to ask you. So when this biodiesel started to come in, and they started to mix it, then we had a serious problem. We had combustible fires. We had combustible fires like this that would spring up 24/7. Nobody is over there. And then as they start to spread, and we had crops across the road, and since there was so much crap over there, they couldn't get into the facility because he wasn't producing enough compost. could not keep up on creating the windrows, and then his nice little equipment seemed to break down, and when it broke down, he didn't seem that he wanted to fix it. So anyway, let me find this here. In the year 2018, the EPA came down and did a site walkthrough of the facility. There are 80 pages here, full of pictures. And I called the congressman because I found out that the EPA had already made a site visit. Could not figure out why the DNR did. The DNR issues the permits. The EPA takes care of the air. They're federal. So when I got this report through Lobsak's office, I started to read through it, and I noticed there was pictures of the equipment in here that were broken, and they were not fixed, and there were barrels of God knows what sitting in front of, like the scat machine, that had to be put in this compost. Why is there stuff not supposed to be toxic doing in these large drums? That was my question. I wanted to know. So that's when my search began. That's when I contacted the supervisors and I said, now wait a minute, you voted this in. Do you know what's going on in our corner of our county? So one of them came out and he looked, and right before his eyes, it blew up in front of his face. And he goes, whoa! And since there was so much crap over there, they could not get into the main entrance to weigh the trucks anymore. So around your compost, you're supposed to have a berm built. They broke through the berm to back the trucks up and dump it there. When you went in through the main gate, you could see watermelons and muskmelons and food just laying there on the entrance because there was no place to put it. They just dumped it. That's what drew all these birds and your varmints and everything. And another thing I realized too in my research, your local landfill is governed by the DNR. Did you know that? And every evening, the landfill has to be covered up with 6 inches of topsoil. Every night. But a compost doesn't. So we're having these fires over there, and I called the girl over there and I said, hey, I'm your neighbor over here. I've never complained in all these years, but you're bringing in something that I don't know about. What is it? Oh, we're bringing in this biodiesel stuff. And I go, is that the reason for the fires? Well, it could be. She's not going to tell me anything. So we fought those fires. And we fought the trash. See some of the trash there?
You gotta pass those pictures around.
I sure can.
Yeah, I can walk around too.
Do you have them labeled so you can?
They're on the back, and the year is
Well,
on
I
the
just-
back.
I'd
Yes,
like to see
we
it
got it
all
divided.
organized, yeah.
Well, this is when I went to the Attorney General's office, and I
State
gave an
Attorney
impact
General.
speech, huh?
State Attorney General?
Yes.
Okay.
And spoke between, this is how we got him closed down,
Is that just recently?
April of 2023.
Okay.
I contacted my supervisors, I contacted my county attorney, I wrote letters to every vendor telling them that he was in non-compliance, and I wanted him back into compliance, or I wanted him to be closed down. I contacted every state senator, I contacted every federal senator of ours, I contacted the public health department, because
right now even.
I have 300 pictures at home I took.
No, but I mean, they weren't that many.
When the fire
They ain't done here.
started,
I don't
when
get
the
it.
creeks polluted, I would go take pictures.
This lady
Even
needs
in
to
my
come to
night
the
down at
next
night, I would take
one. Need to
pictures.
get her ass over
And
here.
I'd send them to the
She's got a
DNR and I'd
to present
write,
to the board.
I don't live at the
We only got
entrance of
one
hell.
here.
What are we gonna do about it? And the volunteer fire department could not get into the facility to put the fires out. Because they were on lockdown. The Arishamis put them on lockdown. And I found that out through the sheriff's department.
You gotta punch that back in.
So they couldn't even get in there to put the fires
Monday at 4,
out.
right?
They had to burn out.
Okay, but again, why does the DNR, I mean?
The DNR, I call them all the time. They say, now, I want to calm down.
Monday at 4.
We're doing our very best. And, we really don't want to close down the business. But see, I kept the pressure on. I started putting pictures like this on my Facebook page. And I would say, this is what's happening. This is my neighbor. This is what we're breathing. We were breathing this stuff. We couldn't open our windows. You can't hang your clothes out. You've got a bird problem, so you got bird crap everywhere. You have got, you can't be outdoors. I mean, it's just like somebody is burning outside your kitchen window all the time. There, you can look at the black smoke. This is over our confinement building.
And Janice did not want the fire department in there.
Shanice did not want them in there. That's why they were on lockdown.
They wanted to put out their own fires.
And they couldn't do it.
Question.
Because they couldn't get to the lagoons, to pump the lagoons out to water the fires, because some of the crap was 50 feet high. And I'm gonna show some pictures
I
there
don't
on
know how long
a
she's
flash
gonna go.
drive that I
She
had taken.
already gave me enough.
This sounds horrific, and
Already
kudos
has
to you
enough.
for fighting it and standing up for that.
Well, this
sounds
is-
horrible.
This is what happened. I have fought the DNR,
I wasn't.
I have fought the DNR, I called them, didn't I? I called them, I put it on Facebook, I got a hold of, the media got a hold of me, and that's when things started to take off. When the media saw my pictures on Facebook, I had 14 impressions.
Out here.
Yeah.
And we really made it public.
That's for the reds.
We really pushed it.
But
We pushed it to
For our
what
lake,
we
for
were
the
doing. Nobody else
visitors.
did that.
That's right.
And the final
Yeah,
straw
that's right, yeah.
was in May of 2021.
and flies and.
We had a fire, and
I've had
all these pallets, you know, you bring pallets in, because you're gonna grind up the pallets for wood to put in your composting for oxygen. These caught on fire. So we had a really, really bad fire in May of 2021.
Need to show this to Rob.
I got so mad that I called the top attorney at the DNR office, Ed Torrey. I left a message with him. He called me back. I was standing in the nursing home with my 90-year-old mother at the time. I said, Mom, I gotta take this call. And I let him have it. I told him exactly, I was tired of empty promises. I was tired of working with the field office number 6. I said, I'm tired of getting the runaround. No one lives here, I live here, and I want justice. And I don't care how I do it, I'm gonna get the justice. And I also told the man, I said, someone is getting paid under the table. And he was dead quiet. And I said, I quit bringing this crap in. Stop the flow now. You gotta stop it at the root. If you want to keep it in business, he's got to get this cleaned up and he's got to get started all over 2023 to take drone pictures for me because I wanted to see what was going on over there across the road and what was going on behind it. Because I couldn't see from the road. I wanted to see. And then when they had the derecho, then Gary decided, well, I can get some more wood. Wouldn't that be great? So over 200 semi-loads of wood came into the compost. Where'd that wood go? It went on the back side of the compost on the ground. And then in August of 2021, 3 months later, we had the biggest fire that you'd ever seen. We had Channel 8 and 13 down Dadeville at that time. There was smoke across the road you could not see. You had to turn the headlights on in the daylight. My grandchildren rode the school bus at that time, and the school bus driver said to my grandkids, my granddaughter says, Grandma, she tells us to get on the floor when we go by there, so we don't breathe. So I called the school administration. I said, now listen, we got to do something about this. Well, that made the news. Of course it did. And for over a week, we had fires. We could not put them out. It burned constantly for a week. We had the fire departments come out from other counties. It was a disaster. And that's what finally shook up the DNR, was the fires. Because they started to spread. They could not get into the facility. The derecho was on fire, 200 trucks of wood. So what they do? They took some of that crap and they threw it on top of that derecho. And it's still there today. So then we had another problem. The derecho was centered in front of one of the lagoons. And it was created like a hill. Then they put compost on top of it. And when it rains, that water runs down that hill and runs around that berm and goes directly into that Palestine Creek that runs through our farms and right out into the Des Moines River. That's a problem. It's not supposed to go into the water. They're supposed to keep the waterways clean, aren't they? That was another problem. So in September, that was August of 2021, DNR was down here every day. September of 2021, I get a call from the DNR. You know, field office number 6 in Washington. Rhonda, I've got some news to tell you, but you can't tell anybody. We just had a meeting with the people in Des Moines, and we're writing up an administrative order, and we're going to close it down. Okay, but he said you can't say anything because he said we don't want you to skip town. So then he sent me a copy of that administrative order. He sent me a copy of the 2008, the 2010, the 2020, the 2021. He sent me a copy of all the permits. Now, this is the DNR. I didn't say anything. The administrative order was sent out to Gary Shamness, and the TV called me for an interview. Of course I'll do it. Called the DNR, I'm going to do an interview. Gary already knew about it. I said, can I do it? I said, I'm going to do it. He said, go ahead. So the administrative order was set out. He was supposed to have it cleaned up by December of 2021. Well, that passed. Called the DNR. Who was passed? the only way I can stay ahead of this man. I don't want him back. The manager stopped by my house this summer. They closed June 1st, 2024, officially. Called the DNR this week. He's almost done paying the $100,000 fine that the AG slapped on him. But it took me to go to the DNR. The DNR said I was resilient and I was not wearing down. I had the DNR sitting in my dining room one day on a Saturday. He came down to check the fires out. He said, "How do you do this?" I said, "Because I live here. My family's here. My grandchildren are here. We farm here. You don't, but I do. This is my world. You are the DNR. You are supposed to protect us. We have been called to be good stewards of this land and of the water and of the air." And so that's what happened. It was canceled to go to the Attorney General's office in 2022. So in 2023, or as I call the DNR every month, when are we going to meet? When are we going to meet? When are we going to meet? April of 2023. I said, I'm inviting myself to the party. So the DNR attorney called me and he says, "Now these are the rules." Okay. So I grabbed my neighbor. I said, "We're going." My husband passed away a month after that last administrative order in October 2020. But I couldn't let go. Her husband passed away in September of 2021.
20 days apart.
20 days apart.
Oh my gosh, girls. My husband actually managed the compost facility for a while.
Her husband was a good manager, and I can say this now because Jerry's passed away, that he gave me a lot of inside information.
My husband quit because he couldn't do his job. Now, this guy that's starting it, we don't know him. He might not be the same as Gary Chambliss. He might be a totally different person. Gary Chambliss was not a good person. He spent his own money on his own farm, and he wouldn't put the money into the Chambliss. And my husband didn't like that because he couldn't do his job. My husband put 125% into his job, 150. That's what he wanted to do. You hired him. He was going to go above and beyond. And he developed high blood pressure from working there because he couldn't do his job. He drove equipment out of the weeds because Gary wouldn't buy equipment or fix it. And my husband was mechanically inclined. He could foresee things, and so he drove equipment out of the weeds and repaired them, fixed them. Gary was very, appreciative of that. He never had a manager that would do that. And Rhonda and I have known each other since 1988 when I moved up to Iowa. And
You work for my CPA?
yeah, so, and she knew that my husband worked there because she's like, "Well, what does your husband drive?" He goes by my house every day. So it was kind of a conflict because my husband worked there, but she was trying to get things fixed, and but we talked, and
You told me that I could call him that night.
yeah, and so
And
that was after he quit, I think.
Yes,
He
but
was-
I promised him that I would never give his name out,
Right.
and I never have. I just now I've given his name.
But, my husband had to, the DNR would come in to see him, and, they'd come and visit. Well, all the employees were terrified of him. "Oh, we don't want the DNR here." Well, my husband was like, "Look, we gotta work with them. They're gonna come anyway, and so let's see what we can do." And my husband tried to fix things, and he really did, because he had the managers they had before, with Gary not ever being there, not doing anything, everybody did what they wanted to. They took breaks when they wanted to. They'd go home and run errands. Nobody had any boss. And, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry, I have to leave.
Oh.
This is a horrific story.
I wish you could see.
Worst case scenario.
We should
So
show.
I'd like-
show that.
I'd love to see that, but I want to just ask some other things I'd like to know. I just live a mile down the hill, and I don't want that. Yes.
But he's not gonna keep those.
You don't know
You don't know that. How many compost facilities are there working efficiently and effectively? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. He had, the Iowa State, the compost facility from Iowa State there. And that was very convincing what they do. They've been running for years. They don't have complaints.
Yeah,
It's
but
under a
Davis
controlled
clearly working
environment
with
though.
them.
But his first manager was an Iowa State graduate.
Right. Whose was? Gary Shamus?
Gary, and he came to right to my house, listen, this is my new
It
manager.
sounds like we need to ask more questions. I don't want to assume that it's gonna be from this.
Right.
Most compost facilities
And
don't.
what happens
If it
if
does.
you, what happens if it does? What happens if you put up, listen,
That's what happens every time you get on a cruise ship. What happens? It sinks.
I don't go on a cruise ship.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so this is
Why is that?
crazy. Why out of 20-some years of being in business?
That's all that he's saying, if.
It's terrible. It's horrific.
Yes, he is.
Does he have children? You want to visit across?
I don't know. I know his
This
brother
is
teaches
the
at a
2-year-old.
high school.
Okay, let's keep it civil.
Yeah, I don't know
We're gonna learn.
him personally, and I think he needs to have a local manager if he's gonna do this. There needs to be a lot of things, but I
Well, he
know
will.
these things can be
And they
done.
will, like I
They
said,
can be done well.
Yeah,
Not
And I think
here.
But
most
in
of
a
the time
different
they are.
location. In a different
But
location.
why does he have to build next to the homes?
I don't know.
He doesn't have to.
When they started this, you said it ran pretty well.
About-
What was it like? What was it like when it ran well?
It was some of that.
Oil companies.
My daughter would come home with her clothes, and my husband would say, we put them out on the deck.
Carthage, Missouri.
We don't bring those clothes into the house. They were
Tyson,
ranked.
Turkey,
Yeah,
Bible.
it's
There
bad.
was a rank.
So even when it was good, it was bad.
Oh, yeah, because of the compost stinks.
Everybody that drove by says, how can you live there? It smells so bad. How can you live next to that?
For all
We didn't
those-
choose
I
that.
got you on the radar.
For all.
And this is the problem.
Slaves.
This is the problem. They are not living next to it. He's living in a nice home in Missouri. He spent the money.
I apologize, I
He's spending it on them.
I have to get back to something.
He's not spending it on us. He can care less. We will never find him. He will never answer his phone.
Right?
Because I have, the DNR couldn't even
That's
get
a
a
statement.
Yes.
In your research, did you ever go visit a compost facility that was working well to see how it should be done?
Well, this is, okay, now wait a minute. I had a lady come down from Cedar Rapids to visit this compost.
Okay.
This has been several years ago.
Yeah.
Gary wanted to build next to their residential area, outside of Cedar Rapids, where there was a new development. She stopped by my house, she had to pass my house to get there. She asked me all these questions.
That's.
They were very worried that their real estate was gonna go down the tubes, and it would. Nobody wants to live next to this. So I gave her all my information. They had a class action suit against Gary. All the surrounding area went to an attorney, an environmental attorney that deals with these problems. And there is some. See, I wasn't gonna go to an attorney. It was the DNR's problem, because they were part of the problem. That's what I told people. The DNR, it was their problem.
Yeah, the DNR let it slide.
The DNR lied to us too.
That's kind of the problem.
That's
Gary
what-
was bad, but the DNR kept letting it slide.
They,
That's-
if you dig into my administrative orders, 2008, 2010, he's doing the same things, and the DNR is being a crutch to allow him to do them and find him tiddlywinks. Well, that's not gonna get by with me. Because if I had a confinement run over, where do you think we would be? We'd have our
Great.
name in the paper, and we'd probably be in
He
jail.
hasn't let me know.
I know, but I didn't get to
So-
say, he need to hear what I
They
say.
make promises to you, all this green is gonna be great. When I contacted Hy-Vee, and I said to John Scanlon in West Des Moines, one of the top guys, I said, look, I'm Rhonda Manzani, I live next to a compost in Eddyville. I understand that Hy-Vee has so many stores that dump down here. Yes, we do. We have 160 out of 240 stores in the state that dump down here.
Well, if you notice Hy-Vee, they'll promote.
They promote green.
We,
And they promote recycling. And I said to him, I said, do you know where your products are going? He said, no, I really don't. And I said, well, they're coming next to me. Because there's an orange truck that says green or you on it that will come down and dump it. And I said, since you are such a big promoter of green, how is that going to look as a vendor of Gary Shamness? And I don't threaten people. But I said, I think you need to get down here and I think you need to see what this looks like. They did. They came down. And he was horrified.
well, let me tell you some stuff too, just as my husband was the manager. So you have your employees say Hy-Vee, and you have a bin that your compost is supposed to go in. One time, a shampooer ended up at the compost facility because the employees don't care. They don't care what bin it goes in.
Who wants to sift through the garbage to pull
Well,
out something?
and see, the weight of the truck is going to be more, so Gary's going to get more headache.
They say you have your Hy-Vee bags, you have whatever else.
Brent wants,
Take my turn.
yeah, Brent's been wanting to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's okay, and unfortunately, but this is what I know, and this is a fact. Abe proposed this site to the landfill board, and a board of supervisor is either a member of the landfill board or was present at the meeting. They refused, declined, rejected, whatever the right word is, to put it on the landfill site or county ground near the landfill for fear of contaminating the landfill wells. Okay? If the landfill board is fear of contaminating a damn landfill well, why would we want this in our backyard?
Exactly.
We have had the most horrific rains this spring. There's not one of those that those lagoons would have been able to handle.
No, that
And it would have
runs right
all
on
went
their property.
downhill and had been in Prairie Rose, had been in.
And again, I'm sorry because one board member was here, left before I got to speak, but he heard that before. But I'm reiterating that, and that's my number one. We can go, I agree, well, 100%. The fires, the Roger Beeson was at that meeting, and he was concerned about the fire. The varmints, the birds, the smells, the flies. I agree 100% with that. But why would we want to contaminate our water or possibly contaminate our water?
You don't want to. You do not want to.
No, I know. And I'm going to say this too, and then I'll sit down and shut up for a little while.
No, you're fine.
I am so pissed off
Yes.
at the DNR.
Yes.
I do not understand why the DNR is not involved beforehand.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yep.
They issue the permits.
But they don't want to be.
Because they don't, it's a political thing. That's why, listen, what I did, and I'm not gonna take, any glory for it because I did because it was the right thing to do. I did it because many years ago we went through a bank failing in '86. And it was not bought out. And my husband and I struggled to keep the farming operation going until we got new financing in '86, and that was through the farm crisis. And I told God at that time, I kept journals back then. I said, if you will help us make it through this. This is not our farm. This is not our land. This is yours. And we've been called to be good stewards. And he reminded me of that. When this started, he said, you are a steward of my earth. What are we going to do about it? And that's what drove me. And
Yes, sir.
and you can pray about it, and you can, and he will tell me you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. You know what? Yes, you can. And if that means you have to go and seek an attorney, and this place in Cedar Rapids, they No, these organizations that are tree huggers.
Watchdog groups.
Yes, okay. I called one, and the lady said, I would explain to her where I was at, and she goes, wait a minute, don't tell me who it is. Gary Shamus.
Well, and you guys are fortunate that you're having this, because Rhonda did all this by herself. Because her neighbors would call her and say, Rhonda, what are you doing? But they wouldn't help her, they wouldn't make any calls. And when Rhonda says she posted on Facebook, when she first started this, she tagged the DNRs,
I tagged them.
and they didn't like it.
There is a solution to your problem and the problem over here. It's called Changing World Technology. They have a plant in Carthage, Missouri that takes all the byproducts from the Tyson plant, turns it into purified water. The methane that is produced by the process runs the plant. And then it produces a real light diesel, which doesn't take much refining, but they can process tires, plastics, environmental, anything organic, anything made from oil can be processed. There's no waste or anything. Well, everybody needs to look it up. They need to put it in front of them and say, this is the solution, instead of having it out in the open.
Then why isn't the DNR looking into this? I mean, the DNR is the ones that gets the permits.
This company fought the oil companies and the DNR and the EPA for 14 years because big oil was involved before they could even build the one plant.
We even had stuff coming in from Chicago
Oh, yeah.
that Illinois wouldn't even put it in their landfill.
Several years ago, northern Iowa had bird flu.
Yes,
Those chickens
yes.
came into Mills County. And when you drove by there, you swear you was gonna get sick. I
That's
mean,
what
it
this
was that bad.
We
And
had,
even though it was buried, but changing world technologies is the answer.
But you gotta tell that guy that.
you gotta
Well,
tell
that's
him.
just it. We need to bring it up
See,
to
this
him.
is what's
Put it in his
happening.
face.
He just got a bunch of grant money. He had some attorney
Yeah,
write up
somebody-
a bunch of grant money.
Yeah.
He's got all this money to spend, so he thinks he can come down here and buy you out. That's exactly what Gary did. Gary had a grant, an attorney to write grants all the time. He had his hand in this, he had his hand in this, he had his hand in this. He robbed
trying
Peter
to-
to pay Paul.
Localize it.
Okay, I'm shutting up.
No, it's okay. Again, the supervisors are in favor of this. I will just tell you that. Okay? Why? Because there's stuff that's not going to go to the landfill, even though we don't have a landfill. We have a transfer station. The landfill itself is closed. But the stuff that's going there from Monogram and Essentia are going to come out here. At his meeting, which I was not able to come last Thursday because I was moving my daughter back to Iowa City, he told them that there would be waste milk. Somebody didn't like when they said sour milk back there, that they're gone. And waste ice cream from Blue Bunny and Lamar's. Anderson Erickson waste milk, waste ice cream, byproducts from Lamar's. Along with stuff from those two plants that we have in Harlan. Along with the manure, along with the wood chips and the wood pellets, etc., etc. I mean, that's indisputable. I mean, that's part of the plant. And the manure, again, I have nothing against Mr. Larson, but I'm assuming Mr. Larson right down the road will be bringing trucks of manure from his feedlot up here. Maybe the pig plant, although they said no liquid waste, I don't know. But that's another thing. And then
Once they own it, they can do what they want.
Well, you'd be surprised what is compostable, what do they consider? Shampoo, mouthwash?
Yeah.
And dairy manure, we live next door to a dairy farm, and it smells because you have that milk from the cows. That manure is worse than just our manure from our cows. We have beef cows. I don't have to tell you. Well,
He's
then
a science teacher, he knows.
Well, then you know rotten
I'm a
milk.
retired science teacher.
You know, rotten milk and everything. We were even, Sigourney had a turkey plant. It stinks, yes. And then if they don't cover it up, you know.
He's got 72 hours to cover the shit up. Sorry. But there's shit coming in every day.
Yeah.
So it's gonna stink
See,
every day.
and see, this guy buried stuff in the ground, and I told the DNR that. I said, he's buried stuff and you do not know where it's at. Yes.
So it's now been a year.
No, he just closed, this June was the final day.
Okay, but nothing has been finished cleaning up. Who is now responsible for
Well,
cleaning it up?
this is another problem, and this is why I talked to the DNR. The derecho stuff was not a part of the administrative.
Does that go
orders, so
outside?
it's still sitting out.
I have to go back.
The pads are cleaned off.
The pads are cleaned off, but the derecho stuff is over there. It should have been part of the administrative.
No.
Plenty of trees.
But when I
Oh,
met,
okay.
Just right here, but it's still outside.
when I met between before the DNR,
I'll be back.
the Environmental Protection Commission,
I'm not leaving.
and
I'm just going
the
outside.
Attorney General's office, they were all in one room at the
Yes,
Wallace
I have.
Estate Building. And I was 13th on the dock. And so when I went in there, the DNR attorney met with me before because he had pictures to show up on a PowerPoint, and he was going to explain them. And then I would get up and I would do a little speech in front of the EPA and the Environmental Protection Association, and they were going to vote. Well, I went with my neighbor friend, and he supports me, and we went up together because he used to work there, so he could answer questions too. And so when we got up to speak, the DNR looked at me, and he looked at me thinking, oh my God, that woman's going to throw me under the bus.
Oh, they had a question back there.
Yes.
2 questions. Where's the watershed for Curtis Lake? Does that come far enough north?
Just right down on this side of the road.
So it doesn't cover that corner. Number 2, where did they haul all the garbage whenever the state walked in and started cleaning all that? Did it go out in the fields or to another compost site?
It went to some strip mines north of Eddyville.
Aren't they all filled? They've been filling on them for 40
They
years.
filling in the strip mines because the crap wasn't worth anything. It wasn't compost. It just sat there for
Yeah.
years.
So they're
there's-
using it for filters and being cold.
Yes. It was not really compost. It's a very, very.
Well, I understand it was compost because it didn't sit long enough to be.
Well,
stored.
it wasn't mixed with anything, there was no wood, they didn't mix it, there was no recipes, they just kept coming in and dumping it, and backhoes would keep piling it up and piling it up and piling it up. And one day I looked over there and there was a backhoe on the very top of this compost, taking a bucket here and putting the bucket over here. And I called over there and I go, I just took a picture of you, what is OSHA gonna say? No hard hats.
That's beyond the point.
It's just, they make promises and they continue to bring stuff in and they don't tell you what they're bringing in. That's true. And if you got manure coming in, they can put this stuff. There's stuff coming in from Chicago, by the
So we got about 40, you said 40 people.
do you wanna push that thing?
Do a little.
If you
Show a
wanna,
little bit more about this
Karen
area.
has to be on speed.
what?
We're gonna show the map and stuff.
I want to show you at a flash drive of what it looks like. And then you can ask me questions, okay? How do you push the, what do you work on? This is 2019. This is the compost. There's no windrows. Here's your lagoons. This is west. This is 16 acres here. Stop it for a second. Can you do that? Okay, this is my side of the road. This silo and this silo is my farms. This is the middle lagoon. No, this is the middle lagoon. This is the east lagoon. If you see here, this is the entrance to the office. If you see right in here, they broke through the berm and they were dumping stuff, backing it in there. This stuff here is at least 50 feet high. There's no windrows in here. If you look in here, top. Stagnant water. That brings in other animals, mosquitoes and birds and all that kind of stuff. And there's even grass growing on top of that, so you know how long it's laid there. This is 2019. Now, I have a picture over here of 2018 that I took off of Google, and it shows my farm, and my husband and I decided what did we have planted over here, because there was still windrows over here. So in about a year, this is what happened. See? All of these in here, and if we move over in here, if you want to keep it going.
How many
you'll see it.
acres is that site?
This whole site, 16 acres of that is the path.
Okay.
So there's about 20 acres. Okay.
This site
Stop.
out here is well over 20 acres they're proposing. if you
Stop.
need to know.
Okay, that's okay. This is the, I don't know which lagoon was the last one, but if you see right through here, you're gonna see a backhoe right there. Look at how tiny that backhoe is compared to all of this. And this would just blow up in fires all the time. You can't even get in there to put them out. You have to let them burn out. Okay, you can go.
You want to keep the same video going, or
Go to the next one.
next we have the picture?
Okay, this is the west. I'm going to break this down into sections. This is towards the county line. This is a pond. But look, here's the berm. Look at how high that is. Look at the grass. There's garbage in there. There's plastic sacks from Hy-Vee. It says Hy-Vee written on it.
That'll be blowing around here. if they-
All of this. And Hy-Vee told me, we don't throw those bags in there. And I go, yes you do, that your name's written right on it. So then I started going to my local Hy-Vee stores in my area, to the produce department. How much produce do you waste per store? About 10 to 15%. You take that times 160 stores. My friend that I said is Leo, that's a good friend of mine. He was working over there. He said they dumped off a watermelon one day, some melons, and he said, well, those watermelons didn't look too bad. So he took it home. He said it was actually pretty good.
And
Yes.
they pay him
To take this
to
stuff.
take the stuff.
He's getting
If-
paid 2 ways.
If they get the final product, then he sells
He
that.
sells it out.
And this final product is not even proposed to be sold
Where does it,
locally.
where does this go?
Proposed to go somewhere south,
Yeah.
isn't it, Kevin?
That's what he said the other day. But what if the farm economy takes a downturn and now the product costs too much to haul to this and that? It just sits in a pile
It's
like
gonna,
that.
it's gonna end up like this.
Yeah.
Now see, ours
He's
is on
got
the,
a grant to do this. He's
Now,
got
see-
millions of dollars,
Yes,
a
they
federal
will.
grant. So he's gotta keep the dollars flowing and looking good for a few years, but when it turns to crap, then we get stuck.
but then he started doing some things behind my back. He started loading some of this stuff at night in his trucks and taking it into the other county. And I had neighbors in the other county calling me at 9 o'clock at night telling me the trucks are going by without the headlights.
You have a question?
So the next day, my husband and I, after chores on that Sunday afternoon, I said, we're going to follow the trucks. Scolding me for sending us to his house. So I just thought, you know, I'm not going to deal with people like you. So, you know, you find. Yes.
Christie?
Have you guys talked to our park rangers, our local soil conservation? They're part of DNR supposedly.
Problem with DNR is it's all after the fact.
Yes.
You know, they-
Yeah, it's gotta happen before.
They haven't issued permits yet.
Exactly. I'll try and answer your question. When they tried to fly this under the radar first time to the zoning board, I reached out to a couple of different people that work here at the park. And neither one of them even do anything about it. But again, that's something that I did bring up. You see some of those pictures. Do we want that right here with our beautiful lake right here? And we get a lot of people out of the community that come to this park.
Now, I went down Memorial Day weekend, walked to every campsite, and I bet I got,
35, 40, whatever, I mean,
no, I got one, but
well, they can't be, I
they
mean,
can't be out of the county, but still.
it's getting
these
some
people
that
come
want out of
from
the
Omaha,
state.
And they say, you got the best park here. We don't want that crap here. But
Where does your creek run? You mentioned you had a creek here.
it goes this way, and then it runs that way, and then it
Is it through your property?
Yep.
Yes. And it
And
goes
your
through yours
property.
too, doesn't it?
Does that creek go through your property?
Oh, I think.
We live on dam side.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Do you have any livestock that drink out of that, or
No.
neighbors that have cattle or anything that
No,
drink
no.
out of that?
No, but we heard
Deer.
maybe there was an Indian burial site up there at one point in time.
It's gonna affect the deer too.
Oh, yeah.
See, and I
I don't think anybody here.
Start a collection on that, man.
What do we do about it?
That's the point. We all gotta band together and go, when they have it established.
I got
the
some
next
Indian artifacts in front of my
meeting
house.
we have.
They have to actually reapply again.
It'll be in the-
And Kevin calls
Huh?
religiously, just like you would.
No, no.
He calls every week. Is there an
My friend from
application
the
yet?
NRCS
Is there an
said,
application?
get some Indian artifacts you throw out there, that'll put the whole
And that's
thing
how
on
we
the
found
bill.
out 2
And I
days
didn't
before
tell
we
Kevin,
got the
Kevin
car,
said,
that
we
we
need to
by
find
the
some
way,
Indian artifacts.
they're
He
gonna
said, I got
have-
3 of them,
they're
and
gonna
that's
have
right,
to-
my friend just said the same thing.
Did they have to?
Have you started a text messaging list, so you can mobilize us?
Did they have to?
Say, meeting is over here.
Show up and I don't even-
I can't.
And we not gotta register.
You know, if you haven't signed the sheet, I see them how you're, so I can get your phone number. Also, we like to ask everybody to grab a couple sheets and talk to their neighbors, friends, whoever, because people they don't want it. Yeah, please do, thank you.
So Brent, is there like,
And
I know that, you know, doesn't mean that all supervisors,
Huh?
you say the supervisors are
Oh, yeah.
for it.
I would definitely do that, and I'm not gonna divulge, there's only 3 now. Either 3 or 5, I think there's only 3. I ain't gonna say who that I talked to, because I don't want, he is very helpful with information to me, and I don't wanna,
You ain't throwing him under the bus.
I ain't gonna throw him under the bus, but it probably we want to figure out which one was at the landfill board. Maybe one of the supervisors is on the landfill board. I don't know how that works.
Married and activist and wants to be on Okay, Susan had a good point here. I would start, Susan, why don't you get up and say this?
Well, I just said maybe to start with the state of Iowa in this park.
You got a state park next to you. And which direction is it from here?
Right south of mine.
Okay, it's south. Well,
Southview.
okay, and she said, and I think I gave you this attorney's name, this environmental attorney in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a neighbor that contacted this attorney in Des Moines and got some action for her. She didn't stay with us. She got out after the first 5 years, because they were, well, they have a gag order, so she can't talk to me about anything. But the other day I told her about who their attorney was, because I wanted to give you this lady's name. And she deals with what you're going through. And it wouldn't hurt just to even set up an appointment, and maybe the first time is a free appointment for an hour. I don't know what it is, but she did help them. And
So we're
so,
kind of waiting to see if the committee allows it to go to the next step, then we'll think about going that route.
Well, and I also think we have to all as a group,
yes,
think about making them at least put in some changes in the zoning, because manure composting has 700, is it 700 feet?
500.
500 feet.
500 feet.
500 feet.
500 feet, but a hog confinement or
Cattle lot,
cattle lot, they have to be 1/4 of a mile.
same ingredients.
Same ingredients.
But they they take their manure and they process it differently. Confinement on somebody's lot is private. So it's gonna be processed different. Now, when we raise hogs, I guess we're a farmer that would check the weather all the time and check what neighbors live where, and we would do it because we didn't want to infringe on any of our neighbors. He doesn't care what he does to you. So you gotta be careful.
I did not catch your name.
Rhonda.
Rhonda?
Man said.
And I'm
Can I give
sorry.
you a hug?
Oh.
Thank you.
If you wanna take a
Wonderful presentation.
Did you
I'm not
see the
dissing.
pictures?
I've seen enough pictures. I know enough shit. All right?
Well, Kevin told me that when he talked the other day,
Yeah, and, you know, it's gorgeous, beautiful.
he was
You
prophesying.
need to supervise here. So I will do, and I have to do anything that I can. Hopefully,
We have to trust the oversight. Oversight is all right. Not to be included, then we can't trust it.
All those apartments should be there.
Because DNR says, it meets the requirements now. Violation after you got your water pollution.
Right, you have to stay out of it. That's right, yeah. Everything starts off small scale, it's gonna turn into a shit show. It's like, sorry.
But there's gotta be.
Can we request requirements that would make it too expensive to build there?
Let people know, firefighters from even Walnut, Aloka, whatever, if you talk to them, they will actually help because they don't want to get into a situation where it's hard for them, like up there with the,
He's got.
hay bales were up there burning. There were some firefighters that were injured during that time and they're kind of concerned about that.
But you don't want to go.
no, we don't want to get.
No, you
Sure,
don't
we
even
can
want
sell
to
it
get
around
started.
this guy. If that guy doesn't accept the
Well,
contract,
thank you.
Compost is gonna have to pay all his
Okay.
guys.
I'll see you on Monday.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, that I talk.
Does anybody have any questions about the maps or anything?
I'm sorry,
About how it sits logistics wise? You guys kind of go through it if you want. I mean, they're here too.
No.
Because the existing, this is where they build them first down.
If anybody's got any questions, you want to call Kevin or me, I would sure talk to you.
Yeah, my name is on the bottom.
Thank you all.
The phone number's on the bottom of the invites. So, anyway, he's gonna haul in 6 side dumps a day is what he told me the other day. And that's 21 tons of manure a day. So mine's 6. He's gonna come in here and dump it here. And this is constant flow. It's not just once a week, once a month.
So I have a question about that. He was talking about proportions, you know, when he does this, there's certain
Yeah.
proportions.
So many.
So what if you get a lot of this one day and
But then
a
it
lot
has
of
to
this
sit
one day?
until
then
he
it's
gets
gonna
done.
sit,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be covered up. And like I told you, you're gonna have traffic all the time. Different trucks are gonna come.
Oh, there's 6 trucks in, 6 trucks out.
Oh, we had trucks all the time.
Yeah.
And then once it gets started, well, your food products are gonna come in every day.
Yeah.
They're gonna dump every day.
It's the right proportions to be able to.
Yeah.
And
If
then
you
there
don't
was-
have enough manure and or he's got too many vegetables, this is gonna sit there and rot.
It's gonna sit there and the birds are gonna come in every day.
See, that's the lunchtime.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the part they don't tell you.
Now, when you have a manure, there's gonna be straw, and that's part of the fiber too. So where is all this straw gonna come from? Did he tell you that?
No.
Well,
He just said manure, in fact, afterwards, I said something about manure, and he said, no, there's no manure, and I said,
So Mahaska County and Wapello County started taking stuff in that was going into compost. And then the county, landfill, started to jack the price up on campus. But you're gonna have somebody selling all that straw. And then you're gonna have all this wood coming in. And then if it's in pallets and stuff, they're gonna have to screen all those nails and everything out of there.
Yeah, but are they just gonna use corn stalks?
It's gonna be corn stalks around here for a while.
Well, it might be corn stalk. No, nobody nails corn stalks for bedding or anything around here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's available.
because the food's there.
Perfect. That's all right. You have to write it down, you walk around and then you see
See, we have the pallets here, and the regular
I
stuff.
help people.